When I look at Bray Wyatt, I see someone who, in another era, is one of the absolute biggest stars, biggest money makers, best talents, most compelling, entertaining, interesting talents on WWE TV. When I look at Bray Wyatt, I see someone who, if this was 25 years ago, if Vince Russo is writing Raw is War, starring Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, alongside, The Undertaker and the Ministry, alongside Kane, alongside those sort of acts, I think we're looking at Bray Wyatt as one of the generational stars that we look back on as all-time great. But in WWE for the last decade now, because it's been 10 years since Bray Wyatt came into the fray on the WWE main roster, which is pretty crazy to think about. I vividly remember, literally about 10 years ago, nearly to the month, when the Wyatt Family vignettes first started airing. You had Bray Wyatt, you had Luke Harper, you had Eric Rowan. They're at that creepy rinky-dink compound, and you had the Bray Wyatt. You had the mask would pop up on the screen. It'd be edited all funny. And at the time, I'm watching that and not fully afraid of it, but I'm thinking, who are these guys? This is different. What are they going to do? What impact are they going to have? Who are they going to take out? What's going to happen? I had a lot of questions. And in 2013, when they made their debut, they made their impact known, they went after Kane, and they did the Ring of Fire match at SummerSlam 2013. Little Jimmy was captivated by that. I thought that was insane. Seeing the Wyatt family lay out this 7-foot-tall monster from hell, Kane, and literally abduct him, carry him out of SummerSlam, out of arenas. They targeted different guys. I remember they targeted Kofi Kingston a couple weeks after. I had real interest and investment in this. The Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt particularly, he was so interesting to me. And then time went on. We got to, I said late 2013 there. They do the stuff with Daniel Bryan and CM Punk at the end of the year. They had the tag match at Survivor Series. They're really, pushing these guys up the card, and they rightfully deserved it. At the time, this is the WWE in 2013, keep in mind, where you've got Alberto Del Rio running around in world title big gold belt matches for most of the year. Cena came back after an elbow surgery and just won the world title. Randy Orton was just holding the WWE title, even though we'd seen Daniel Bryan literally beat him on pay-per-view 3 times, but they kept the belt on Randy. It was a weird sort of time for WWE. Lots of authority segments. The Rhodes did their thing. Big Show was crying. Throughout all this, I'm watching Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family, and they're the act really that's compelling me the most at this time in 2013. So you transition, you slingshot the momentum from them beating up Daniel Bryan into early 2014. Daniel Bryan, that infamous moment where he frees himself from the Wyatt family in that steel cage match. The building's going nuts. The Wyatt family's involved in these real main event storylines, main event parts of Raw, parts of WWE. You get to the Elimination Chamber. They do the big match. The Wyatt family, the Shield. I was compelled. This was probably the most compelled I was watching a match at this stage. I was hooked on this match. Alright, after SummerSlam 2013, where Punk faced Brock, we had the Best vs. the Beast. I love that match. That hooked Little Jimmy. But after that, you get to this stage of early 2014, the Wyatts and the Shield. This is oh my god, this is faction warfare. This is the Shield, these 3 badasses who come out through the crowd, these literal stars facing these 3 big creepy dudes. This was something else. So they had the match at the Chamber, and then Bray Wyatt's feuding with Cena. You got Bray Wyatt trying to bring down and break the legacy of John Cena, turn him heel, make Cena embrace the dark side, and the story was great. It worked, and Bray Wyatt had a WrestleMania match with John Cena at WrestleMania 30. The biggest WWE star from WrestleMania 20 to WrestleMania 30, John Cena, was facing Bray friggin' Wyatt at WrestleMania. And Cena won, sure, and then the feud ended a couple months later with Cena AAing Bray Wyatt through a box and literally burying him. And then from there with Bray Wyatt, it sort of started to slowly go downhill. You had Bray Wyatt, it'd be a lot of talk, but not much substance. He'd talk the talk, but not really ever walk the walk. He'd do the big scary promos, the promos you can't really understand what the hell he's trying to say, but because it's delivered in a real funky, scary sort of way, you're just inclined to think, oh, it's really good long-term storytelling. He knows what he's doing and all this sort of thing, and it's going to be really good. But how good was it? That's a lot of the stuff with kind of Bray in hindsight that I look at. And Bray Wyatt would generally get squashed, or he'd just lose in feuds and storylines. There weren't that many storylines from about 2015 through 2018, which Bray Wyatt was involved in, where he'd definitively feud with someone, call out a babyface, call out another wrestler, and Bray Wyatt would definitively come out on top and look strong, standing tall at the end of the program. I can't really think of any or many where it was like that. I really can't. So you look at that with Bray Wyatt. He does that. He sort of he flounders. He bounces between mid-card, upper mid-card, has like a main event match, upper mid-card, mid-card, upper mid-card. He flounders through there. And then you get to the Fiend stuff, alright? The Fiend was this rendition of Bray Wyatt. It was more menacing. It was more, in your face. It had the mask, the really intense presentation. The funhouse is the juxtaposition, going from this menacing, scary fiend from hell to this, lovey, like Mr. Rogers sort of, character. That worked. I understood it. I got it by and large. I saw they were trying to go for. But then WWE sort of just dropped it and then fell over, and then it sort of just dissipated. The Hell in a Cell thing ruined it. And then a few months later, Bill Goldberg put the cherry on top. Bill Goldberg did not kill the Fiend or bury the Fiend. WWE management and the creative minds did when they booked the Hell in a Cell ending. I'll just say that. They do the Funhouse match with Cena at WrestleMania 36. And really after that, Bray Wyatt gets released, not too shortly after, about a year and a bit later. Bray Wyatt's released. He comes back. And he's had this return run. And he's wrestled, one TV match since he returned at Extreme Rules 2022. He's feuded with LA Knight. They tease a feud with Lashley. And, really, here we are. And the question I ask after what I've just given you, is Bray Wyatt done with WWE? Now, granted, he might still be employed. I'm not saying, WWE should fire Bray or anything like that. All I'm saying is, I look at this career path, I look at this arc with him, and this return run was supposed to be, kind of closure for Bray, getting some good, big-time programs in, or good, compelling, big-time, interesting programs in for the character. And all we've seen is a Mountain Dew Pitch Black match at Royal Rumble, and then he came out and announced himself as the prize for Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley's Elimination Chamber match from 2023. He just came out on SmackDown and said, I'm facing the winner, and then WWE just scrapped it. And we haven't seen or heard from Bray since, and it leaves me really wondering and having a lot of questions surrounding Bray Wyatt. Where does one go from here? Because you look online, and the initial sort of, applause, the initial celebration of Bray Wyatt when he returned at Extreme Rules, that initial, it's amazing he's back, this is great for Wyndham Rotunda, I'm so happy for the person, cool he's back, WWE giving him another shot, bringing him back, they never should have got rid of him. That energy has completely dissipated. Now it's back to where it was a couple of years ago, where it's Bray Wyatt's matches suck, Bray Wyatt's programs are either too long, uninteresting, they're too messy, they're too all over the place, it's unclear. And I remember making a video on this sort of thing a while back, where the problem with Bray Wyatt is the storylines, if you write the whole script down and Bray Wyatt's sitting there with you, or you're sitting there in a meeting and you're going through it, it probably sounds fantastic. Because Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda creatively is one of the best minds there is. He just is. And I stand by pairing him, if he's back 25 years ago in the Attitude Era, and he's sitting there with Vince Russo and they're throwing ideas back and forth, that would be some of the best television we would have ever seen in WWE, on Raw especially. But nowadays, you've got these long-winded, messy storylines where this character is symbolic of this, and this person said this to this person 7 years ago, and Bray's hinting at that when he's doing the cryptic promo where he says this, and his delivery of this line implies that 3 years ago when he made this jab and he wore this mask here, and he was at this building in this arena in 2021 as The Fiend, but then The Fiend wasn't Husky Harris 10 years ago. it's a lot of that. If you were confused or thinking, what the hell is Jimmy saying there? That's basically what myself, or most of you as viewers, think watching Bray Wyatt and these promos. There's too much to it. It needs to be simple. It needs to be easy to understand. And then you can, from there, tie in all the elements of storytelling. Look at the Bloodline story. It's simple to understand at face value. Roman Reigns is the big dog, head of the table. He's the puppet master pulling strings and causing all this chaos and turmoil within the Bloodline. He's emotionally manipulating Jey Uso. Sami Zayn is, X character. He's the outsider who sees this, and the character. Everything flows from a central point. If you get what I'm saying, it flows from Roman Reigns being the puppet master of chaos, and then everything else happens after that. Jey Uso, Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. Now there's extra guys, like there's Riddle involved. All this sort of stuff. It's like a big tree. Reigns is the foundation. Reigns is the roots. Reigns is the stump. Everything else are these big branches of compelling, interesting story. With Bray Wyatt, his storylines and what we've been presented, for the mass majority in the past few years, particularly with this return run, but just generally for about the last 5 to 7 years with Bray Wyatt, the character we see on WWE TV, there's no real stump, there's no real foundation for most of it that's very clear or identifiable. Once again, maybe if you have the spec scripts and you have a 25-page document with this all written down by Wyndham himself, maybe it's some of the best Shakespearean god-tier storytelling you'll ever see. But what we see on WWE TV, it's just a lot of roundabout stuff where you don't really see a clear ending, and not even a clear ending, just a clear direction with the story. It just feels like a lot of, okay, the Bray segment happened, cool. So where Bray goes from here, I do not know. I do not know, because whenever he wrestles a match, if ever now, people just crap on it. The storyline itself, whatever this thing is, the Wyatt Six and Uncle Howdy, it's not really going anywhere. It's sort of fizzled out now. And I sit here in late April 2023. I speak for myself and on behalf of a lot of people, and I say there isn't really generally much interest going forward with this. And yeah, that's sort of where we're at. So I don't know. And that's the question I ask. Is Bray Wyatt done in WWE? Where to? And once again, maybe Bray has an incredible 5-year-long run with some of the best wrestling storytelling we ever see. I don't know. Maybe that happens. And in that case, great. That means we had some entertaining, great television. But for what we see right now, what we see nowadays, last few years, the body of work, especially in the last 5 to 8 years with Bray, the question I ask is this. Maybe right guy, wrong era. I think that's the thing with Bray. I just think wrong creative for this guy. And maybe that's the root of the problem. I don't know. Comment down below what you think of this. Your thoughts on Bray, where he goes from here. Like, comment, sub, you guys don't drill.